Hello, this is Jarrett. I'm playing Oxygen Not Included, and this is the start of a new game. Going out to the Spaced Out DLC and hitting the radioactive ocean asteroid. So that's a similar one that I did in the last playthrough, or it's the same one that I did in the last playthrough. Again, I'm going to keep hitting the randomize button until I get Metal Ridge option for at least the radioactive ocean asteroid. And that's because I'm going to be doing a lot of automation and have a lot of heavy watt wire uses and other things with metal. And it's going to make it a lot easier if I do that. So the change in this playthrough is I want to make an improvement on the carnivore achievement. I got it on cycle 97, 98 or something close to 100 anyways. And that wasn't sitting with me well, so I'm going to go after this again. But I'm going to just film the highlights for this playthrough rather than show every single detail. So here's the dupes that I'm going to be taking with me, or duplicants. So I've got a scientist. I want someone who has a really strong researching skill. When I want some research items, I want it done quickly. So they've got quick learning and very specialized on researching. I've got a miner, a dig builder. They're also got quick learning, so the skill up. But I've got this another character. They are engineer. Essentially, they start off with the Minitronics engineering skill. They've got supply building, farming. But that is key to enable automation early on in this game. The game suggested Golden Asteroid, and I'm just going to go with it because one of the things I eventually want to do is have a lot of gold tiles, but that's going to be much further down the line. Alright, so starting off, the first thing I want to do is get a latrine and a barracks. That is going to give a place for my dupes to get a little bit of a morale bonus, as well as a place to sleep and use the washroom so they're not making a mess everywhere. It's the end of cycle 1, and here is my latrine and barracks. I'll be expanding them as time goes on. So in the printing pod, or left of the printing pod, notice there was a buried object I just dug out that is giving me access to a hatch early on. In fact, it'll probably be the only hatch on this asteroid. I'm also building power and a research station. The first thing I'm going to research is a mess hall, and I'm going to dig out a spot for access to water. I'm going after every single achievement in this game, and that includes the locavore achievement, which requires you to eat 4,000 calories without putting anything in planter boxes. So any wild plants I'm going to go after, because I can't plant anything in planter boxes, at least until I eat that. But I'm also going to go after the carnivore achievement. So underneath the latrine is my mess hall. That's giving me a +3 morale every time my dupes go in there and give them a place to eat when they need to consume some calories. It is time to choose a dupe. Now I've done a save just before this, just because if I don't like my options, I can reload. But this one here, a digger, operator, suit wearing, quick learning, they've got a pretty good set of skills. I'm going to call them operator, and they're going to join the team. This means they'll be consuming more calories in total, but also be able to get more done. And I've got a lot of things I need to do. The next thing I decided to do is do some basic research, and that allowed me to get a Great Hall. So that actually is giving me a +6 morale bonus for the dupes that are in there. After that, I want some batteries together, pushing this a little bit further away from the base. And I've got 3 large batteries. I'll be destroying the other one, the small one, later on. Okay, after the batteries, I dig a path to the teleportation system because I want to send someone over to the flip world. But let's just take a moment to see what is available in that world, as well as the home world, the radioactive ocean. So, minor volcano, infectious polluted water, cool steam, liquid sulfur, which is in the hotspot, garbage. There's nothing I want there. In the home world, cold salt, cool slush, salt water, and a water geyser. That's actually amazing. That is awesome. I'm actually quite happy with. I'm going to get tons and tons of water, which I'll put to use later in this game. So now that I know about the world and their resources, I'm going to send a dupe over to the other world, and they're going to immediately defrost a friend. I'm going to make a save just in case I don't like them. If they're a mouth breather or a big eater, then I don't want them, or some of the other negative traits. But this guy here, I am fine with. They are infectious, biohazardous. I can deal with that. And they'll have some general skills. Now, the nice thing about them, they are immediately going to have 3 skills. So I'm going to give them the ability to do critter ranching here in a little bit. But I also need an outhouse and some beds for these 2 dupes to be able to sleep at, because they're going to stay in this world for a little bit of time. It is time to give out some skills. Engineer, let's give them the ability to dig. I need digging through granite. Miner, well, they're definitely going to be digging through that. So research, advanced research for the scientists. So this is the ancient knowledge. They're going to have the critter ranching skills. And that's a really big advantage about defrosting a friend right away. I'm even going to take an extra dupe. Cook. They like cooking supply, but obviously their main focus going forward is going to be cooking. I really have no choice what to work on next. That is going to be electrolyzer, so with a pump, and that's going to pump water up to it and start producing oxygen. Unfortunately, I'm also going to get a little bit of hydrogen, but I will deal with that in the time to come. So the overall focus for the two dupes that are in the flipped asteroid, this one that I've teleported to, is to find critters and to build stables and put those critters in the stables. So fortunately, I now have a new dupe that has the critter ranching skills because they were defrosted and I was able to assign up to 3 skills. And I've got this really small stable, which is going to be growing to 96 tiles in time. That's the maximum size that it can be. And I'm going to be putting some squiggles in there right away, just so that they can start enhancing or increasing the speed at which they lay eggs. And that is in interest of both feeding my dupes, but primarily the carnivore achievement. I need to specifically have them eat meat in order to get that achievement. So when those critters lay eggs, that increases the number of total critters and eggs together, and that can cause cramped conditions. So that I can have a maximum 8, assuming I've got 96 tiles. But what I'm doing is getting my dupes to take out the eggs, because they don't need to be in there. And that may relieve the cramped conditions, because when the critters are cramped, they don't lay eggs as quickly, which is not good. So now I'm giving out a skill. Operator is going to have critter ranching. Now I've got 2 dupes that have critter ranching here and none in the home world. So I'm going to actually send operator back, and I'll eventually send another dupe to replace them in time. So now that I've got someone with critter ranching skills here, I can get one of the hatch that I found in this world and get them to bring them into a stable. I also brought over one of the pips and got them to plant an herb tree inside their stable, so they'll use that as food source. So I discovered a hot saltwater geyser. You're always going to find that in this world, and it's producing a lot of heat that I don't need, so I'm going to seal it off so it will quickly become overpressured and I won't have to deal with the excess amount of heat that it's going to produce. So now scientist has field research skills. That means they can enable the teleportation items that is available to be able to actually send material back and forth. And the primary thing I'm going to be using is dumping eggs from the other world to this world to be able to start consuming meat a little bit faster. I've got the luxury of being in a world that is metal rich, so I'm deciding early on to upgrade everything to heavy watt wires so I don't get into a situation of burning out smaller wires. So I'm going to give out some skills here. Engineer is going to get the building skills because they're going to use the Minotronics skill for building, and Miner needs to be able to dig through abyssalite. I made it to cycle 15, and one of the things that's becoming a problem is the hydrogen that is accumulated at the top of the base, making its way down. So I'm digging a way up to the top, ultimately going to build a fan, and I'm going to dig out a space to build a hydrogen generator, and that's one of the things that I can build while maintaining the super sustainable achievement, fortunately. And I'll have some other equipment to do filter out the hydrogen, to put it inside that, and a smart battery ultimately to tell the hydrogen generator when I want it to operate. It is time to choose a new dupe, and this time I'm actually going to take the hatched egg, and that's because that's going to really advance the number of hatches that I get, ultimately making the carnivore achievement a little bit easier. I would like to have my dupes working around the clock, so what I'm going to do is create all kinds of different schedules here and offset them by 3, so they're going to sleep at different times. I'm going to put a maximum of 3 dupes on each cycle, and one of the nice things about this is it means the latrine only needs to have 3 outhouses, and when I get to showers, 3 showers. An important task for me is to discover the location and dig out a path to the teleportation system that allows me to send material to the homeworld, and primarily this is going to be sending eggs, so that needs to be powered. And it's also going to allow me to have a system for removing eggs from stables, because that can create some cramped conditions, at the same time sending those eggs to the homeworld where I can put it through an incubator to add the lullaby effect. I only have one dupe in the flipped world, and progress there is slow, so I'm going to send Miner over. That's someone that has good digging skills, because there's still a lot of digging to be done in that world, so that'll allow them to build and dig out some material, while the other dupe, which is going to be focusing on looking after the critters, can do that job. Also notice that I'm creating a barracks and a great hall down there as well to up the morale on this asteroid. So allow manual use is going to be important. All critter eggs is going to go there, and that will start to be used once I'm able to activate it and provide power to it. But just putting that setting in there now so I don't forget. Also digging out a path to these Sweetles, because I want those in stables producing more eggs and ultimately meat. Okay, so this is the incubator. I'm going to build a single incubator to add the lullaby effect to all the eggs that I have in my world. And I've got two specialized rooms. The bottom room has the incubator. The room above is going to be the egg storage room, where ultimately I'm expecting a lot of the critters to hatch. So here's the thing. If you run this and operator has the critter ranching skills, the moment they apply the lullaby effect, you can actually remove the egg, meaning that that incubator no longer is consuming power. So that's a very efficient way. So that's the very first egg to have the lullaby effect. I'm now putting a pip egg in there and going to wait for an operator to add the lullaby effect to that. And I'm going to put some automation around that to make this a little bit easier, but you'll see that in a little bit. In the meantime, what I've done is I put rules around the door such that operator is the only one allowed to go into the bottom room, and everyone else is the only one allowed to go above. And I've got two bins. In the above bin, that's where I'm putting eggs that have been processed that have the lullaby effect. I'll have to temporarily allow dupes to go in there, so I have to kind of rechange the or the permissions of the door back and forth. And I've got another bin inside there or next to the incubator to store eggs that haven't been processed. So a bit of a manual process, but that's why I got someone that has Metatronic skills, so I can automate that as soon as possible. It's a risky move taking on another dupe this early on, but I think the risk will pay off if I can make sure that I can maintain the amount of food. Now this is someone that has artist skills, so I'm going to call them artist. Okay, so the conveyor loader has been loaded, but no eggs have shown up because the teleportation system hasn't been activated on the flipped world. And the teleportation system to send a dupe isn't available, so what I'm electing to do instead is to remove the skills of Miner and temporarily give them field research and get them to enable that teleportation system. And then I'll put them through this scrubber a second time and give them back the mining skills, rather than waiting for the teleportation system to be able to send scientists over. There is Miner forgetting everything they know about how to dig through all kinds of different materials, including basalite. So I brought a pip over in this stable, but that arbitrary takes a while before it even starts producing branches for that pip to be able to eat. So what I've done is I've actually wrangled it, and I'm bringing it over to a spot temporarily over here where it can consume food and still be looked after to produce eggs faster. Okay, so with Miner skills scrubbed, actually get some other skills give out too. So Miner is now going to have field research. I'll give the other dupe that's in the flipped world, the ability to do more critter ranching a little bit better. And artist, let's see, generally if I don't know what to do with them, I give them the carrying skills, so I might just give them that ability. And now that I have a dupe that is able to activate this, I'll click on that. Actually, might as well activate the other machine at the same time. And that will allow the first Sweetle eggs to be sent to the homeworld, which is great. Okay, so Sweetle eggs are going to start flowing over once that has become activated. So we can see them being dumped off over there. And I'm going to put them in the bin next to this. And I'm going to go through the painful process, and I won't film this entire thing, but I'm going to get dupes to send eggs that have been processed in the bin above, and get the dupe that they're the only dupe that's allowed to go in the bottom room operator to treat those eggs. So I'm going to sweep those eggs, All my dupes will throw them in this room here. Operator will process them, and I will have to manually or change the settings of the door in that to get them to go back. Alright, also notice that I'm in need of food because I'm very low on food. So I need a water source because my other water source is low. And I'll have a mushing station built, microtuber. With both the teleportation devices activated on this side of the world, I can then get miner to scrub their skills, and then I'll reassign them the mining skills they had before. It is time to choose another dupe, but this time I'm tempted by pip eggs for the same reason of producing meat that I did with the hatch eggs. Okay, so I'm going to admit I've reloaded here about 8 times to get an option for some sort of food item because I've left my dupes in a situation where they don't have any food. I've got to get that micro musher in existence. So I'm going to actually build it a little bit closer to a place that already has some place dug out with next to water. And do that at high priority such that my dupes will start turning dirt and water into food. At the same time, I'm going to add automation to remove eggs that the auto sweeper here can reach. It can't reach the entire room. It can only reach the eggs that have been dropped out of the incubator by me that have the lullaby effect applied to them. So what that's going to mean, every time I get an operator to process an egg, it will ensure that they grab an egg that doesn't have the lullaby effect, because of the eggs that have the lullaby effect are going to the room above that operator can't reach. So essentially, that means I can apply the lullaby effect on every single egg that is in that room, which is going to allow those eggs to hatch a lot faster. I should note that the lullaby effect lasts for 1 cycle, so I will need a process to send those eggs back down in the room above after the cycle has gone by and it has worn off that effect. But first, automation has been created in this space, so that is an exciting thing. So you can see that one of my dupes has put in an egg, and ultimately I'm going to make operator the only one that can go in there, because what I don't want to happen which is what you just saw there, is someone else go in, add the egg, and then have that thing operate or just waste power while I wait for operator to go in there. I'm also going to get operator to be trapped in that room, but I'll worry about that setting. For the meantime, I need to worry about food. Yes, I've got those omelets, but I can see the dupes have eaten them all up because they were hungry. Let's get a cooking station that is actually going to allow me to increase the number of calories of things. So meat can be increased. The mush from the micro musher can also be increased the number of calories if you put it through that. Improves the quality that you get from it as well. So definitely you want that. And I already have someone who has the cooking skill. I'm not going to show this process again and again, but here we can see operator grabbing an egg. I'm then removing the egg, and then the sweeper is bringing it above. It does mean that this is a manual process on my part, because I have to continually remove the egg and get them to reprocess it. And then once I see that all eggs have been processed, I can open the door so operator can leave, and then do some other things until they go back. So I'm also monitoring the stables for eggs and having my dupes send those eggs back inside that room. Also time to tell I got my first meat that has been produced, and I'm going to tell cook to be able to turn that meat into barbecue meat, increase the number of calories. So that is going to feed either between 2 and 4 dupes depending on which critter was converted to meat. Giving out some skills here. Scientist is going to get the applied research, and operator, I'll give them critter ranching too. I'm not in this situation yet, but I don't want to be attacking critters and converting them to meat when I already have a lot of meat, because some of that meat could go bad. So what I'm doing is I'm enabling meat and barbecue meat to show up on the right side so I can see when it's low and make sure I only attack critters when I'm actually in need of meat, ensuring that it doesn't go bad. And here is some Sweetles that exist. I can see that I only have 4,000 calories of meat. So they'll be attacked, brought up to the electric grill, and converted to barbecue. My dupes are installing a fire pole and giving power to the future pip stables. So much excessive amount of hydrogen has been accumulating that I had to relocate one of my barracks to beside the Great Hall. So putting the final stages on this, I've got a system to be filtering hydrogen such that it doesn't have to go through a standard filter, which takes a lot of power. That's going into the gas reservoir, and it's going into the hydrogen generator, and that will operate when I'm either in need of power or I have an excessive amount of hydrogen. So avoiding the situation where my dupes won't be able to breathe, because that keeps going down and down further into the base. So there we are. First little bit of hydrogen power being provided to my base. I tend to be very protective of my metal ore, so I built a metal refinery here. Anytime I want metal, refined metal, from this point I'll use that instead of the rock crusher. The rock crusher actually will consume half of your metal ore and output sand, whereas this will produce 100% refined metal. The downside to that is it takes a lot of power and heats up the water, so I'm going to use it sparingly. So now that I've got that system for creating the metal ore, I'm going to actually install lights for my various different equipments and have automation to be able to shut those lights off when new dupes are in the area. It's time to add some more automation around the incubator room. So in the room above that has the eggs, I'm going to mark eggs that do not have the lullaby effect, and I've got an auto sweeper that's going to put those eggs, and only those eggs, in that conveyor loader and drop it in the room below to be processed. I also have a weight plate with a NOT gate, and that's a filter after that. And the idea here is this is going to trap the operator in this room until that all the eggs have been processed, or that weight plate doesn't pick up anything. So the idea is the operator can go in the door on the left, and they can go out on the door on the right, but only when that condition is met. Or, and I've got an OR gate there, I've got a cyber clock that indicates when their break is, because I don't want them to be trapped in there, not be able to use the washroom and eat and all that type of thing. So that is the last little bit of automation that I'm going to be able to put into this before I just produce a lot of meat I'm expecting from this room. Oxygen is getting low, so I'm going to put a second electrolyzer in a different location further away. I'm going to connect that with power and water, and that'll start producing more oxygen. So Sweetle eggs from the other world are being dropped off here. I've been manually getting my dupes to carry them into the bin, but it'd be nice if I have a conveyor path that sends it from here right to the the incubator, to be processed right away. So that's what I'm doing there. And it's also very important, if I have that, to destroy the conveyor chute that is there, so it actually makes it there. So that takes care of eggs that come from the flipped asteroid. Now I want to go through all the different stables, in this case the hatch stable, and build a conveyor loader with a sweeper to be able to take eggs from here and send it into the room with the incubator to process these eggs and ensure that that stable doesn't become cramped because there's too many eggs in there. Right now I've got 8 hatches in there, which is excellent. So there is the conveyor loader. I'm specifying critter eggs go in there, but only swept eggs. That's very important setting. I'm about a third of the way to cycle 100, where I would expire on the carnivore achievement if I didn't get it. So let's see the progress. If I click on some of the other achievements that I've got there, excellent. Didn't even have to try for those ones. So if I go up to the carnivore achievement, click on that, I can see I've got almost 20,000 calories consumed at this point. So still lots to go. I've got some new rooms for Pip stables, and I'm bringing Pip in temporarily just to plant an arb tree, because I want that to be able to start growing so that I can eventually start to put Pips in multiple rooms to produce eggs and ultimately meat. It's now time to upgrade to a washroom. The outhouses are quite annoying. They produce polluted water, and there's also a lot of manual work into unplugging them every now and then. I'm also going to add showers in here as well. So I've got a temporary latrine. Well, it's not even a latrine, it's just a set of outhouses at the bottom there. I'll destroy those later once this is all created. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a temporary room, or not a temporary, but a little sliver of room on the right that's going to ultimately be a nature reserve. And that's why I've got that extra space over there, just deciding where exactly that's going to go. But that's going to allow my dupes to get the nature reserve bonus when they walk through. I also just realized that I don't have the research yet for the actual washroom material, so I better do that and get scientists to work on that. So I'm just going to make a little bit of change to the Great Hall. That's going to be set up with the same little pass-by room, so that anytime the dupes either go to the washroom or they go to the Great Hall, they have to pass by the nature reserve, getting the +6 morale bonus once that's created. And this is the thing that I'm not showing so much, but the annoying thing that I'm doing is, as I'm building some of these things, I'm intending to operator on the room to make sure my eggs are processed at the same time. So a little bit of a multitask job at this process. So what I have is 3 showers, and I'm going to have 3 latrines, or lavatories rather, in my washroom with 3 sinks as well. Because the idea is any break time, I only have three dupes taking a break at the same time together. That's why I've got 3 in there. And I'll also need to connect those with pipes and provide a place for polluted water that goes out of there. So it's not just regular polluted water, but it's got food poisoning in it. So for the meantime, I'm just going to mint out some skills here, but in the meantime, I'm probably just going to install that in some liquid reservoirs and deal with that in time. My washroom is now created, and so is the showers. I just need to put in some liquid reservoirs. Whoops. Going to bring that one down, but that is where our polluted water is going to sit, and if that ever becomes backed up, the washrooms will be unusable. So I'm building several of them and hoping that I'm going to be able to handle the polluted water before all 3 of those get filled. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on that every so often, and one might as well add some flooring to the bottom of this. Okay, I just want to remove some water in this area where I want to build a nature reserve. That's why I'm building another liquid reservoir down in that spot. Over here, I'm putting the automation inside the pip stables to be able to remove eggs. So this is a really important process. The moment that any critter lays an egg, you want to get it out of that room as soon as possible, so it doesn't stop all the pips or whatever critters in there from laying eggs at the quick rate. It's also going to get the eggs quickly inside this room, where operator can attend to it and go process these eggs. Now, anytime I make a modification in that room, I'm going to have to temporarily allow everyone else in so that it gets built quickly. And I'll have to remember to turn that off when I'm done, because otherwise, if I select an egg to be processed, one of the other dupes could grab a lullaby effect egg and have it put in there, which I don't want. Okay, it's time to clean the air a little bit. Having those outhouses existed has accumulated a lot of polluted oxygen, which can create yucky lungs, which allows my dupes, which causes my dupes to consume more oxygen, which I don't like the idea of. So let's clean the air a little bit with these deodorizers, shall we? One of the more important priorities is to give engineer, the person that has the Metatronics skill, the priority on building, because they're the only ones that is able to build on that conveyor layer. I started off having been built on the far left side of the incubator room, and that served me well in the beginning where I didn't have a lot of the automation. But now that I can have the auto sweeper drop eggs from the room above that have been swept, I don't want to have dupes take eggs from there and put it inside that bin. So I'm going to move that over by 1 such that operator is the only one that will be able to access that bin. Because there is still the case where I may need to grab eggs that are in stables that don't have automation yet. Eventually, when every stable has an automation system to remove eggs, I won't need that bin at all. But for the meantime, occasionally when I have operator put eggs that need to be swept from various different places, I can ensure by moving this over on 1 tile that they're the only ones that can do that. And here I'm just selecting all the eggs that don't have the lullaby effect, clicking on sweep, and that is going to kick in the automation to drop the egg down below to be processed ultimately. Okay, the radioactive ocean world doesn't have a lot of actual water. Well, it has a lot of salt water, warm salt water actually, but it doesn't have a lot of regular cooler water, but this world does. It has tons of geysers, which is awesome for long-term water use, but for the short term, I'm going to build a pump over here. Just realize that I've got some hatches over here that could be taken into the stable here, increase the number of hatches that I get early on. But I'm taking a pipe from the bottom of the base where water exists into the teleportation system. And that's going to provide me with a water source that should last a good amount of time. before I'm forced to tap into some of the geysers that are in the homeworld. Also make sure that that pump has power. Okay, so I'm expanding the number of pip stables that I have, and this is going to be more my medium long-term solution for food pips, because eventually I'm going to run out of sulfur for my Sweetles and they'll expire, and I don't want to keep sending material to the hatches, so I want to be able to get rid of the hatches. I'll get rid of the Sweetles in time, and I'll just have pips for a meat source down the line. And the nice thing about pips is they don't consume anything. Well, they consume little arbitries that are there, but that grows for free. So that's a really nice thing. And it works such that each of these stables will produce enough food for one dupe. There's going to be 3 pips in each of those, and they're 4x9 in size. Just building this little spot down here, which I'm going to get a pip to exist with some seeds to be able to create a nature reserve. I've been rotating the pip around the various different rooms and making sure I throw a single arbitrary in each so that I can get those growing. So in this world over here, I've got the ability to accept water from this machine. So I'm going to send a pipe to my water line, get that connected, because that's just about dried up. So now if I get my dupes to finish that line, that will provide water from the other world, and I'll need to make sure I have at least 1 dupe stay there so they can use a manual generator to produce power to operate that pump and send it over here. And here we can see some water arriving into this homeworld base. It's time to choose another dupe. I'm going to start to need new dupes soon to start consuming more meat that I'm producing, but I see hatch eggs and I'm just too tempted to get those because I really do need to expand the number of hatches that I have to be able to get, supercharge this meat production system. Because I'm getting occasional amounts of meat, but not a consistent amount. Eventually, it will be enough meat for all my dupes all the time. But I'm not there, so I'm still relying on the microtuber a little bit. But I would say majority of the calories that are consumed at this point are actually consumed as barbecue meat. So I've got to continue to operate this machine over here. That's the incubator. And it is an annoying process of going through every single egg. I will mention that you won't have to do this forever if you're following this step. So we'll get to the point where I've got so many eggs that they can just be thrown into the egg storage room and I can ignore the incubator in time. Time to give out some skills. Artist. I'm going to give them digging. Cook. Let's give them digging. I need more people that can dig through granite. So carrying skills for engineer, operator. How about if we can't decide carrying skills, and miner, I'll give them building skills since they've got so more building to do over in that world. So I'm going to need a second dupe over here that has critter ranching skills because the operator, which has that skills, is in the incubator room all the time, and I need someone to tend to the critters that are in the ranches. So I'm going to get artists to go in here, remove their skills, and then I'll assign them the critter ranching skills such that they can attend to the stables, making sure those critters lay eggs at a very quick rate. So there it is. Artist, remove their skills, give them critter ranching 2 to be able to do that quickly even. So I've got a number of pip eggs. Eventually when they hatch, I'm going to be able to put 3 of those pips in each of these rooms. So just expanding the number of rooms. And ultimately we're going to have 1 room per pip. And we're halfway to cycle 100. So where are we with the carnivore achievements? I have, if I click on carnivore, consumed 92,000 calories, which is the most amount of calories that I've consumed by cycle 50. Okay, this is the most amount of calories my dupes have ever consumed meat at cycle 50. And the reason for that is I really made a strong effort of getting critters into stables as soon as possible, making sure that I have a dupe that has the critter ranching skills to be able to tend to them. And then once I have that, be able to remove the eggs as quickly as possible, eventually with automation, such that those rooms don't become cramped, and making sure those rooms are 96 tiles, assuming that I've got 8 critters in there. And then further, making sure those eggs get to the incubator, and you don't have things like a conveyor chute in a place that you don't expect and have them dropped off there, and using the incubator correctly such that those eggs are being attended. So I believe that I'm going to get this achievement much earlier than I have in the past. If you want to see that, like, subscribe, and see you in the next video.